What are some military operations excursions leaders that are not talked about enough? Pretty much the entire Eastern Front of WWI flies under the radar for Western nations, but it was absolutely insane, making the Western Front look like a regional dust-up in comparison. 40 million dead, Germans on the front steps of Moscow, and then the Russians breaking the Wehrmacht's back and driving them back to Berlin. Unbelievable. Atrocities on both sides. Give Dan Carlin's Ghost of the Arse Front hardcore history series a listen. Definitely worth the 5.5 hours. Brusilov offensive of WWI. This offensive saw the use of revolutionary shell tactics by the Russian Empire and led to the near-total collapse of the Austro-Hungarian war effort. It is considered to be the greatest Allied victory of World War I. It was also the most lethal campaign of the war, and human losses on the Russian side was one of the conditions that led to the Russian Revolution and the rise of the Bolsheviks and the Soviet Union. Operation Market Garden, a large-scale Allied military operation during World War II, often doesn't receive as much attention as some other campaigns. Led by British Field Marshal Montgomery, it aimed to secure key bridges in the Netherlands but faced challenges leading to its ultimate failure. The operation's complexity and the bravery of soldiers involved make it a noteworthy but relatively overlooked chapter in military history. DD 579. The entire life of the USS William D. Porter, aka the Willie D. The crew of the ship were constantly fucking up, including almost killing FDR. It was then sunk by a kamikaze plane that the ship actually shot down, but the plane hit the water at an angle that it ended up right under the ship and blew up. The Dollop has a great episode about it. All those CIA ops like MK Ultra and Northwoods that make you sound like a conspiracy loon that the government has repeatedly admitted to. I feel like those things are spoken about in a zany "can you believe that" kind of way, when the reality is Americans should really internalize these truths. Their government really did do that. It's horrifying, and what's known is only what has been declassified. Operation Gothic Serpent, known for the Battle of Mogadishu in 1993, is a military operation that often flies under the radar. Led by Task Force Ranger, it aimed to capture a Somali warlord. The intense urban combat and the heroic actions of soldiers, later depicted in the book and film Black Hawk Down, make it a compelling yet less discussed military episode. Operation Green Sea, an amphibious invasion of the Guinean capital by 400 Portuguese soldiers designed to free Portuguese posts, capture a liberation movement leader, and attempt to topple the Guinean government. Pretty much what you need for a movie. But the involved parties are not exactly well known. The capture of the Dutch fleet at Den Helder. In 1795, a French cavalry regiment defeated a Dutch naval fleet. The ships were trapped in the ice, so the fleet just rode on top of the ice, surrounded, and captured the fleet. 0.0001 of steam users have this achievement. Operation Paul Bunyan. The United States cut down a tree to intimidate the North Korean government. This all started when the US troops were hacked to death by North Korean soldiers with their own axes. Operation Gladio, a clandestine NATO project during the Cold War, is a captivating but often overlooked tale. The covert network's activities and its impact on European history deserve more attention. Probably Operation Pastorius, where German soldiers who were familiar with the US were supposed to infiltrate the United States and commit terrorist attacks after being dropped off by a submarine. The Saint Nazaire Raid, Operation Chariot, or also known as the greatest raid of all, Operation Paperclip, where the Allies recruited German scientists after World War II, often flies under the radar. It's a fascinating yet lesser-known chapter in history. The Battle of Princeton, where Washington rode his horse in between the two armies and kept instructing his men to fire in that direction and somehow didn't fucking die. The Napoleon film was so terribly inaccurate it could have only been made by men from the same country as the Beef of Wellington. Napoleon Bonaparte, a military genius who conquered much of Europe and reshaped warfare strategies. Mind-blowing tactics. How a Chinese river naval naval battle few hundred years ago can be one of the deadliest battles in the world still amaze me. The Romans tried to find the source of the Nile. They got pretty down south even though they did not find the source. The Battle of Attu, fought on Attu Island in the Aleutian Islands between American and Japanese forces in WWI, when the military helped the CIA traffic heroin during the Vietnam War.